Hi Boomer fans, welcome to this week's edition of Coach's Corner, proudly brought to you by Lucerne Investment Partners and Econ Financial. This week's guest made her debut with the Tall Ferns in 2007, played in Olympic qualifying tournaments in 2012 and 2016 and in the Commonwealth Games in 2018. She is also a WNBL veteran about to play her 13th season, which is over 250 games in total. She's a much-loved teammate coming into her second straight season with the Boomers. Welcome, Toni Farnworth. Hey, Toni, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, Ruth. Good to be on.
It is great to have you. You're based in Melbourne now, so you're going to spend the off-season playing with Ringwood again in the NBL 1?
I was meant to be, yeah, and then hopefully that would be the same again next year. You know, we don't know what's going to happen now, but yeah, Ringwood's been my sort of NBL 1 club here. We moved over from Perth, Josh, my husband and I, the start of last year, a bit closer to New Zealand, so my parents can come over and visit more than kind of once a year, and I can go visit them as well.
The fact that you weren't playing NBL 1, how have you spent this 2020, this challenging 2020 year?
I mean, I'm an accountant, so I work from home. So we have been like flat out, really. In the period, I guess, from when the season ended till we started training with Guy in July, I was just trying to stay in shape. I got better at that. Initially, it was kind of hard to find motivation and kind of find drive because I wasn't sure 100% whether I was coming back to play. But when I made that decision that I definitely wanted to come back and play, it was very much like I had to, then start thinking like a basketballer again, trying to get back in shape.
You mentioned you're an accountant, so I can imagine you would be absolutely flat out. The fact that you're busy, are you just resting? Have you tried something new? What have you done?
A lot of chilling out. We brought a coffee machine, so we've become like at-home baristas. I watched all of Seinfeld, which was really good. And I know that that's Coach Guy's favourite. I reckon there's going to be some sort of, good banter on that.
You, as a worker, are probably one of the WNBL is moving in a great direction in that most players, or a lot of players, are able to say they are playing full-time, particularly through the season. But you're still a little bit old school, like the rest of us used to have to do it, where you're juggling the playing and the career. How are you finding it?
Look, I've got a really flexible employer, so they kind of work really well with me. I kind of work full-time in the off-season, so NBL 1 season usually, and then I will be working kind of part-time around my basketball schedule at other times of the year. So I've got just basically a home office set up, and I just work when I can, really. It's all just kind of like something that you can kind of get used to, and I think it provides good balance and sort of is setting me up for when I stop playing, which is probably going to be pretty soon.
The juggling act is real, so even though you find a good routine, thank God for flexible bosses. But what do you find to be the most challenging part about having quite a demanding job and WNBL moving like it is, where really it is getting a lot more demanding? So for someone that's played over 250 games, what have you found to be the biggest difference?
I mean, I definitely, like when I was first playing and like, say, when I think back to like a time like when I was playing at West Coast Waves, we had training at 5:30. So I would finish work at about 4:30, rush to get to training by 5-ish, chuck my shoes on and do a bit of a warm up and then get going. So it's a bit different now. We're a lot more professional. It's good. It's definitely like, I think it's not happened as fast as some would want, but it's definitely from where I can see sort of from, I think about 13 years ago when I started my career to where the league is now. It's definitely like a massive improvement. I would say previously there would have only been, 2 or 3 like fully professional players on each team. And now I would say, yeah, it's, as you said, sort of like I'm kind of the only one. I think Izzy's going to be the other one on the team this year who is in that sort of boat.
For those who don't know, just give us a quick snapshot of how you've ended up and where you started, right when you were little, and how you've managed the pathway to Melbourne.
So I guess I'm from Christchurch in the South Island of New Zealand. So I played juniors in New Zealand growing up in Canterbury. We had a WNBL team in New Zealand, the Christchurch Sirens, in 2007, 2008. And unfortunately, that team only lasted 1 year. So in 2009, I moved to Australia, moved to Albury with Kennedy, who was my coach there. In the WNBL, I've played Dandenong for 1 season, Bendigo for a season, Adelaide for a season. I was in Perth for 7 years, I think it was. And now this is my 2nd season in Melbourne. I might have even been 8 seasons in Perth. I can't
Yeah,
really remember. It's a lot, yeah.
Let's keep going with the New Zealand journey. How's it been for you? Like 2007, that's a long time in a national program. You've offered so much and given so much to that program. Tell us a bit about it, your standout memories, what it means to you.
Yeah, New Zealand, I would say the camaraderie we have as a team, so we get along really well. It's a similar culture we have at the Boomers, and that like everyone's kind of, everyone gets along, everyone really cares for each other. We kind of just in it, you know, we just want to have success. We haven't had much success. I mean, we were really unlucky last year to miss out on sort of going further in the qualification. The New Zealand team's always like, every time I get a chance to represent New Zealand, it's just a massive honour, and I love playing for my country.
What's your standout memory with the Tall Ferns so far?
The Com Games was like, because that's probably the only real major tournament. I mean, not necessarily for the basketball, but for the actual, you know, the event itself, and being in an athlete's village and experiencing that was pretty awesome. The tournament last year that we played at home, I haven't played a lot of games at home, which has always been an unfortunate thing. We've always struggled for funding. We've had some really good wins that kind of stand out over the time, but it's like always unfortunate that not many of those games have been played at home. So, you know, you can't sort of play those games in front of your family and stuff like that. It's always been probably the tours and the, you know, just the stuff off the court a lot stands out. So we had one year we had a 6-week tour. That was like one of the funnest trips I've been on.
Okay, so moving on to this season, how do you think the Boomers are looking so far?
The group we've had in Melbourne's been really good. I think we've been getting in some really good work. I mean, that the interesting thing is that we haven't been together yet as a group, and we're probably only going to get that for a couple of weeks before the season starts. I mean, I know the players that are coming in are going to be, you know, working hard. I mean, we've got Kayla Kalani up in Queensland. We've got Izzy coming in from the WNBL, where she's been going, you know, playing amazingly. So it's just going to be a matter of kind of gelling quickly, which is going to help that most of our team's back from last year, I think, and that we know kind of guys' coaching style. But I think defensively was probably where we're going to really put our focus in and try and lock teams down like we could when we were like at our best last year. Something
that really stands out to me about you is how hard you work. You work really hard at training. You're a perfectionist. You get so mad at yourself. But that goes into a game. It means that you're always ready to go. You always make an impact. You may play a completely different role from one game to another, and your attitude and mental strength just never wavers. Is that something that you've worked on over your career? Is it something that you think's always been a strength? Where do you think it's come from?
Oh, it's definitely not always been a strength. I was like, my competitiveness, I think I've like managed to channel it in good ways now, so that like I want to, you know, be better. I want to do things. That kind of getting down on myself probably in the past was a lot worse. Now I think it's just like, you know, I can get mad at myself, but I won't kind of try and carry that to other members of the team, and I try to play a role really. You become a bit more self-aware of your like strengths and weaknesses as you get older as a player. So it's sort of, and all you can really control is just like working hard and just trying to execute what you're asked to do as best you can.
So you're coming into your 13th season, which is a huge achievement. Congratulations. I mean, it takes women in particular a long, long time to play over 250 games. So it's we're all really excited that we get to spend your 13th season with you. What would be, I mean, personally, at this stage of your career, you mentioned earlier that you might be winding up soon. Do you still have some goals that you want to achieve over the next few months in this season?
Yeah, definitely the World Cup in Australia in a couple of, 2022 is a big kind of event that I would really like want the Tall Ferns to qualify, and I'd love to be able to play in that. I mean, a WNBL championship as well, like this year. But yeah, I just want to have a really good season this year, and that World Cup in Sydney in a couple of years' time is kind of a goal for my national team stuff.
And in your 12 seasons of WNBL, what would you say would be your standout memories?
The very first Lynx season. So we came from Waves to Lynx. We went basically from the top of the table to a grand final appearance. Yeah, that was probably one of my highlight seasons. Last year's season was great as well. the group, just how the group came together was really awesome.
Looking back on a younger Tone, what advice would you give yourself from then till now?
Probably just to be a bit more confident in myself. Like I probably wasn't always sort of my own biggest fan, so just kind of have a bit of belief in yourself, but just taking opportunities as they go and just giving it, you know, your best sort of crack after that.
Nickname?
Tone.
Favourite saying, word?
Too healthy.
Outside of basketball, what is your favourite thing to do?
Go for a walk with a dog.
Who inspired you most as a young athlete?
I really love the All Blacks as a team. Like I was an All Blacks fan. I was a rugby fan growing up. Jonah Lomu was a big like idol growing up. Donna Lofthagen was one of my favourite netballers, you know, growing up, but she was also a basketballer as well, which I kind of love.
Favourite board game or card game?
Oh, euchre card game.
Any pre-game rituals, superstitions?
I like to just have a shower just before I leave and brush my teeth. I don't know, just freshen up before I leave for the game.
If you could invite any one guest to dinner, who would it be and why?
I'll tell you, I watched that Kathy Freeman documentary the other day, and I thought that was pretty awesome, and I would just like to talk to her more about that. Like, I kind of watch documentaries on people, and then I want to, like, kind of meet them and would love to, like, chat to them more. Michael Jordan, after the Last Dance, I just thought that was, like, pretty awesome, and just, like, his mindset and mentality was awesome.
Favourite movie?
The Departed.
Favourite pre-game pump-up song?
I would say Wonderwall by Oasis.
Favourite food?
Oh, it's a tie between Mexican and Japanese.
Biggest pet peeve?
Generally, social media is a bit of a pet peeve. Just like how it's incestuous and just like, yeah, I don't know.
Favourite emoji?
The chin scratch one.
Toni, it's been great chatting with you. Hopefully this has allowed everyone a little bit more of an insight into the legend that we all love in Toni Farnsworth. So really looking forward to working with you for another season, and we'll catch you at training on Friday.
See you there, mate. Yeah, thank you. Enjoyed talking.
Well, that's another edition of Coach's Corner. Don't forget to follow the Boomers on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn and YouTube for all updated news. Hope you all have a great week. Catch you next week.